Hey, she was 7. My camera. Okay. Y'all know I'm on the iPod and it's slipping, okay? I mean, iPad. I have to get rid of my Canon because it was old school. I didn't have HD on it. Okay. So, my story. I promised you my story, so here it is. Okay. If y'all haven't watched Why I Quit Being a Mortician, watch that first. It leads up to my story because that's where it starts. So, after I quit being a mortician, I volunteered my embalming services to an old friend who owned a funeral home, and because he was short of help. And so I said, well, I'll help you. I don't have anything else to do. I don't have a job. And hoping that he might hire me back, I offered my services for free that evening. So he said, well, I'll be there in an hour. Why don't you go and head up there, and I'll be there soon. But I didn't have the keys to the funeral home. So I went to this little bar around the corner. It's like a restaurant bar around the corner to wait. And my friend was the bartender there, so I was cool. And I sat down. I talked to her for a few minutes, and she got busy. So I was just sitting there alone. And all of a sudden, this guy comes up to me, and he's like really interested in me. And I was, I had just quit my job. I was broke. I was, offering my services for free, hoping to get another job. And so my mind is not on, some guy talking to me. So I'm sitting there in my little mortician outfit, which is a suit, like a skirt suit with a nice shirt on. So I look like a businesswoman or whatever. I'm dressed up. And so this guy comes over to me. He has on a suit as well. So first of all, I'm thinking, I really don't want to talk to anybody right now. I just want to be left alone. But he was very persistent. He offered to buy me a drink. He was trying to make friendly conversation with me, and I was just not in the mood. I was like, oh my goodness. But then I started remembering back to the day that I quit my job, what I had said to my friends, the receptionist. I said, you know what? I'm tired of working for these ungrateful people. I'm just going to go find me a rich man and get married. I've tried to have this career. I've tried to do this and I've tried to do that. It just did not work out. So now I'm just going to go find me a rich man because I'm tired of dealing with all, funeral home after funeral home, boss after boss, situation after situation, The dead people are great, but the live people are the ones that really mess you up. And I was a young girl. I was like 22 years old. So I was not used to the game. I wasn't used to the backstabbing and the hating and all that. I was just trying to be a mortician. I was just trying to be in the career that I wanted to be in. I was naive. I was, innocent. So it kind of broke my heart that I couldn't, do what I loved anymore because of the live people. And I was like, ugh. And so I just kind of gave up on it because I was so frustrated with these live people. And so my mind had gone back to what I said. I'm just going to go find me a rich man and settle down because I'm tired. So then my mind clicked. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see what he's about. So, and I wasn't really interested in him. I was just going to, my goal was to test every man that I met from that moment on. If they were up to par to the type of man that I wanted to be with. And I would just go straight into the questions. I wouldn't waste any time because I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. And I wasn't afraid to go get it. Okay. I didn't even know what manifesting was, but I knew what wasting time was. And I wasn't about to waste any more time. So 2 weeks before I met this person, I said, I'm just going to go find me a rich man and I'm going to just get married and y'all can have this. So I met this guy. He's nice. He's, coming up to me. And so I start with the questions because I don't want to be wasting my time with someone that's not going to do anything for me, who can't help me. I mean, I'm sitting here frustrated, upset, and, my career went south. And so I'm broke. I'm worried. So I'm like, you know what? If you can't offer me, if you can't help me, I don't want to have anything to do with you, And some people say that's gold digging, but it's really not. It's being frustrated and knowing what you want. I knew what I wanted, and I wasn't going to change what I wanted. Okay, and I'm going to tell y'all one of the reasons why I wanted what I wanted. I watched my sister and my mother when I was young, and my mother struggled. She was an independent woman. She'd been married many times. She's divorced. She had 4 kids. She struggled. She worked 3 jobs. Da 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 da. But then, like, eventually, she started to own her own business, and she became independent. She got her money and da 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 da. And that's great. That's a great story. But we're different. And my sister, I watched her. She got married. She got the life of luxury cars. Didn't have to work and all that stuff. So I was like drawn more to that. But as a child of my mother, I wanted to be independent as well. I wanted to get it on my own. So I became, I went to mortician school. I worked full time since I was 14 years old. I wanted to be the independent woman too. And I went out in there in the world, and the world ate me up, y'all. The world, I was just a sweet little innocent child. I was sexually harassed. I was talked down to. I was hated on just for trying to be in a career that I had passion for. So after being, disappointed and upset, I decided to try my sister's way. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll give this guy a chance. So I listened to what he said, and my questions came, so what do you do for a living? Then he told me some stuff I didn't understand, so must admit it was really technical. So he was working in IT, and he owned his own business. And so this was like in 2001. And then I said, well, what kind of car do you drive? Because I'm not, a lot of people say that they're the CEO of their company, but they're driving a Pinto. So he's like, oh, it's right outside. Do you want to go see it? It's a convertible Mercedes, 2001. And I'm like, okay, you got a brand new car, Mercedes. You own your own business. You're the CEO. Okay, what else? What's next? And so he was really smart. He talked proper English, and, he wasn't ghetto or anything. He had on a suit, so, that's a good sign. And the funny thing is before he came over to me, he was actually talking to some other woman, or maybe the woman was talking to him. I don't know. But he walked away from her and made his way around the bar to talk to me. And she was just sitting there like, oh my God, he just left my conversation to go talk to her. But anyway, so he convinces me not to go to work that night, and since I wasn't getting paid anyway, to go out with him. So I said, okay. We went out. He gave me his cell phone. He's like, you know what? I just want you to feel safe. If because you don't really know me. So if you feel uncomfortable, you can call 911 or anything at whatever time. And he was just trying to make me feel safe. So I get in his car. It's a nice car. I'm just like, okay, I can work with this. I'm young, And so he turns on the music, and the music sucks. And I'm like, being myself, I was like, you know what? I said, this is some old music. I don't like this music. Do you have anything else? Because I had been drinking a little bit after he bought me a couple of drinks. And so he's like, no, I don't have anything else. So I was like, okay. So he pulls into like a store where you can buy CDs. Like, I think back then it was like Music Warehouse. And he says, pick out whatever you want. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And so I pick out I grab all these CDs. I don't mean to get them all. I just gonna see which ones that he wants to get. I grab 10 CDs. And he's like, okay, get them all. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, just get them all. And I grabbed the Prince deluxe box set. It's $50 for that. And 9 other CDs. And he paid for that all. And I was impressed. I was like, okay, you know how to spend money. Okay, good. And meanwhile, I know y'all are thinking, oh, she's just a gold digger, but that's what I wanted. It doesn't matter if, what you think of me. That's what I was trying to manifest at the time, and it was coming to me. And that's the moral of the story. You do control your own destiny, and as long as you know what you want, So we get back in the car, we put the music in, and we go out around the town from this place to that place. We have a good time. And then when it's time for me to leave, he drives me back to my car, and he gives me all the CDs. He's like, here. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I said, well, keep a few, for your car so you can have some new music. And so he did. And then, he gave me his card, and a few days later, we were going out again, and again and again and again, until we were in a relationship. And then I realized, you know what? I hadn't worked in like a month. He had been taking care of me. I'm like, he would just give me money. He would just give me money in my pocket. He's like, I know you're not working, so here's $500. Here's $1,000. I know you have bills. And so I was like, this is exactly what I want. I don't want to have to work and struggle again. I mean, this man makes enough money to pay for me and him. So then we got serious. We got serious. We moved in together. We got really close. We fell in love. All that kind of good. We fell in love before we moved in together. But we moved in together. We had a good life. Like, let's see, 5 years we had. And then we got married. And we didn't have any kids or anything. We were just traveling, going here, going to Mexico, going to Vegas, going to, New Orleans, wherever we wanted to go. And, I didn't have to work. But he did say, you know what? I know you left your career. I know you really liked working in your field. Is there anything else that you're passionate about that you want to do? Because I don't want you to have any regrets in life. And I'm like, well, I kind of been watching the Food Network. I kind of like cooking. So he's like, well, why don't you enroll in culinary school? I'll pay for it. So I was like, okay. And so I did, and I got my degree in culinary arts. This was all before I had kids. And so he wanted to better me. He wanted to make me a better person. He wanted to take care of me. He wanted to do this, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want a man who wanted to use me like the funeral industry did. I didn't want a person that was going to hurt me, like the things that like my career path did. I didn't want that. I wanted to finally just be taken care of and to not have to worry. And that's what I got. I could have manifested another direction. Like, I want to get a new job at a new funeral home, and I want to build my career up, and I don't want any obstacles to come in my way. I could have done that. But I was a young 20-something-year-old attractive female, and I knew, how my sister lived and how easy it was to get that. And I was just tired of working. I'd been working since I was 14, y'all. Or 15? No, 14, 15, yeah. So I was like, let me try this. And I never had to try anything else. I worked in many restaurants. I worked with the former White House chef. And so I have no regrets. And then when I got pregnant with my first child, I was so happy, because I was working a job for fun because I had my culinary degree, and I actually worked for a food lab. I worked in food technology. I was one of the people that do taste tests and different batches of types of food for them to market to restaurants and fast food restaurants and frozen food sections of grocery stores. So I was like high up in my field. And when I found out I was pregnant, my husband said, well, you don't have to work, relax, take off, do what you need to do. So I quit that job and I became a mother. And then years later, after my kids they're now in second grade and kindergarten. Now I have my online store. I do readings and stuff like that. So I'm always going to be, doing something with my time. I'm not just sitting around shopping and buying Louis Vuitton and Gucci. I don't even get down like that. I go to thrift stores, y'all. I love because that's what I did before I met her. I like thrift stores. I like crystals. I like spiritual stuff. And I had time to develop my spirituality. I had time to meditate. I had time to read, educate myself spiritually. I had time to educate myself consciously because I wasn't working a full-time job every day, and I did have time to sit back and contemplate. And the things that I did learn, I taught to him. Like, I taught my husband things. I taught him about manifesting. I taught him about positive thinking. And even though we're not on the same spiritual path, he still uses those techniques to get the things that he needs in life, which is all that really matters. You know, we went through a phase where I totally went on a separate spiritual path, and then he was going on, and we accepted that about each other. You know, we had been together so long. Was whatever makes you happy, do it. Okay. So while I'm learning, I'm showing him like videos, conscious videos. He's learning, you know, even though he's still in his spirituality, he knows, you know, the truth about a lot of things already. So if it weren't for me, you know, not being all this available time, not having all this available time, you know, I don't know if I would be as conscious as I am. I don't know if my children would be the same children because I've taught them certain things. So there's a reason for everything, and we do have the ability to shape and mold our destiny in our life just by what we want and what we manifest. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, I like to refer to famous people a lot because you can see their story, like Jay-Z. You know, he always says he always knew it would be like this while he was in the kitchen, which means while he was like cooking his drugs, he was imagining his life on a whole different level. And that's how I was doing. Like, you know, I always imagined myself never struggling, never having to work unless it was the career that I chose. And I wanted to actually marry someone in the funeral business and own our own funeral home together. But since that didn't pan out, you know, because I wasn't going to be working for someone the rest of my life. And I didn't want to, if I couldn't work for myself, I didn't want to work at all. So lo and behold, the thing that I said out of my mouth, I want to marry somebody who's going to take care of me, happened. And that was the first time I realized that my words had power. That could bring so much into my life. Like, that was the first time I realized that I could create my own destiny. This was before The Secret came out, y'all. That book was not out yet. And so, I really felt that whatever I wanted, I could have at that moment. So I was like, well, what else can I ask for? You know, what else can I wanted to just have fun. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live. You know, a lot of people don't get the opportunity. They have to struggle. They've never been outside of their city or state. And, you know, they have come to terms with the fact that that's all that they will ever be. And that's all that they should want. And it's not. It's not. If you dream big, if you know what you want in life, if you're not afraid to go ask for it, to go get it, to take steps towards it, to take, you know, like the universe's opportunity when it presents itself to you, then, you know, great. I'm always going to do that. And a lot of people will say, oh, you're just a gold digger and da 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 da. Well, that's not true because I can work circles around people. I have no problem with working. It's just that I married someone that feels like I should be working in my own house instead of somebody else in a workplace. You know, I have someone that feels like I should be building up our home rather than spending 8 hours a day working for some other man who's probably very successful, you know, if you know what I mean. So that is my story for when I first knew that manifestation really is powerful. Now, I've manifested so much stuff after that. Like, y'all, we started out in a little apartment. It was a nice apartment, though, y'all. You know, we didn't have kids, but we started off in a high rise. And, you know, the longer you're in a relationship, the longer you're in a relationship, the more things you're going to want together to build. So I was like, okay, what's next? What's next after this high rise? Because we're not going to live here forever. So we were like, okay, let's get a townhouse. And so, you know, we got the townhouse and like, okay, what's next? Well, let's go to a mid-rise in the heart of the city where, you know, all the stuff is happening. Like, this was the place to live, y'all. They had like free breakfast in the morning. Like when you go down to the lobby, there's elevators. You have free breakfast. Every Thursday they had a happy hour. You get free wine. I mean, this was like, they had a concierge. This was like the place to live, y'all. And so all these dreams that I had, I manifested. I've always wanted to live in a high rise. I always wanted to live in a building where I had a concierge, it catered to me, and So after that, like, now what's next? What's next now? Well, what was next was I got pregnant, and so a house was next. So we were like, okay, let's go get a house. We looked at houses, and the credit wasn't up to par. You know, I wasn't working, of course. So the houses that we were looking at were like really expensive, and so we were like, okay, well, we can't get this type of house now, so let's aim a little bit lower. So we like leased a nice house in one of the nicest neighborhoods in Houston, in Texas, okay? One of the nicest neighborhoods. And he did not like the house that much. The next subdivision over, which is in the same neighborhood, there was a house that he liked, and it was being built. So I didn't really like the house, but he liked it. So we ended up buying that house, which was a lot nicer than the house we were in. But I didn't like the house. The energy was bad in it. You know how I'm about energy. The neighborhood that we lived in wasn't, used to be a slave plantation. And we didn't do good on that land because I'm sensitive to certain energy. So a lot of bad things happened. Then we ended up separating. And I was independent again. And I had my own apartment. I worked. I was cooking again. Stuff like that. And then a year later, we decided that we need to get back together for the kids. And I said, well, I'm not moving back to that neighborhood. I hope, you know, we need to start over fresh. And he said, okay, well, what you can pick the house this time. Whatever house you want, you go pick it, and we'll get back together. I miss y'all. Da, 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 da. And so I was like, okay. So I go into the neighborhood that I've always wanted to live in. I go on hard.com and look up the house. The house is available in that neighborhood with pools. And I was like, okay, this is what I want. He didn't give me a price range. He just wanted me back. So I was like, well, I'm going to make you pay, you know. So I go online and I find the house that I want. And we go and try to get the house. And they say no. And because I don't work, right? And he works, but he just started at a new job. So it doesn't look good on when you're trying to, you know, get into a house. But his job was very high paying. They just said no because I didn't work and his job was new. And usually when you rent to someone, they want you to be on your job for so long, this, and that, da, 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 da. So we go to look at the house and they don't, like, we put in the application and they say no. And so I'm mad. So I'm like getting my candles. I'm lighting my candles. I'm doing my manifestations. I'm saying, I want this house. I need this house. You know, I'm going to have this house. This is what I want. And so I let the candle burn for a few days. I called the lady back. I said, what's it going to take for us to get in that house? And she's like, well, the lady said no. The landlord said no. I was like, go back and ask her what is it going to take for her to rent to us? Because I want that house. And so she says, okay, but I don't think she's going to change her mind. I was like, I've already manifested it's going to be, you know, I didn't tell her that, but I was like, she's going to change her mind. And so the lady comes back on the phone and she's like, she said that you can get the house. So I'm like, really? She said, yeah, but you have to put down a little bit more on the deposit. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We were not supposed to get that house, y'all. But I knew what I want. I manifested it. That was the only way I was going to get back together with my husband, as if I could pick the house that we lived in, the area, and all that kind of stuff, because he had made a huge mistake in moving me into an old slave plantation where the energy was bad. Okay, so this time I had to be the chooser of where we lived. So we get the house, we move in. It's, oh my God, it was the dream neighborhood, the dream house. It's in a really nice area, and I was like, oh, in heaven. I love that house. I would just walk around and look at it in disbelief. I mean, we had a pool. Kids were happy. It was huge. It was a huge house. Like when you talk, it echoed. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to live in a shack. I didn't want to live in the ghetto. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Don't be afraid to manifest it. And then, okay, so fast forward 1 year, the landlord calls and says, do y'all want to buy my house? And we're like, we're not ready to buy your house right now. And plus, there's too many things wrong with it. The foundation is a little off. We don't want to pay the price that she's asking, because she's asking way too much. She doesn't even live in America. She lives in Brazil. So I know y'all probably heard this story before, but it's part of my story. So anyway, she's like, well, I want to sell my house, so y'all gonna have to move. So I'm like, oh my God, we gotta move. And I love this house so much. I was like so torn. I was like, I love this house so much. I don't want to move. But we're not ready to buy your house if you're not going to fix it first. And we can, like, the house, what she wanted for that house, we could have had like a damn near mansion, okay, for in another side of town. So I was like, you know what, I'll find us a new house, even better one. So I'll get online, and the first house that I find is in the neighborhood where I grew up as a child, which is really nice. I have really good memories of this neighborhood, and it's nice. And the school district is better than the school district we were in. The house is newer, or it's more remodeled. It's nicer. There's a pool and a jacuzzi and a diving board. The landscape is like tropical in the backyard. It's just beautiful. The hardwood floors, up to date, brand new appliances, just everything. Okay. So I was like, okay, this is the house that I want. And it was actually cheaper than the house that we were in. And so he's like, call it right now. My husband's like, call it right now. Call it right now. And so we go look at the house. First house, only house we looked at. We knew we wanted it. And so I'm manifesting, I'm lighting my candles to get this house. Da, da, da. The owners of the house were so desperate to get rid of the house because they had fallen behind in debt. And so they were so desperate to get rid of the house. They leased to us like the same day. They didn't even read the paperwork. They're just like, you got it, you got it, you got it. And the funny thing is, the lady, the wife of the person, the couple that owned the house, the lady had a very similar name to mine. Like, we had the same initials and the same, like, almost the same name. So that was like a sign to me that, this was meant to be ours. And so, we were like, we just had this communication, like, the owners, because we're leasing this house, the owners were like, okay, well, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. They had kids that wanted to remain in the school district, but the kids are gone now, like they're graduated. But we let the males stay coming here for a little while so that the kid could finish school. I don't know how that works, but it is their house, so technically I guess they could do that. But so we have the house of our dreams right now. This is not our last stop either. We're just gonna grow and grow and get better, bigger and better. But right now, like, if I was a kid and I lived this lifestyle, this would be exactly what I wanted. Like, we're trying to give our kids the lives that we never had. And like, a lot of people never had a parent that stayed home and took care of them and cooked for them and picked them up from school and helped them with their homework. And a lot of people didn't have financial stability or a nice house to live in or a nice neighborhood or a good school to go to. So that's what we want to give our kids. And by me having higher standards and manifesting something that I knew that I wanted, contributed to this. A lot of people will settle without even knowing. They will say, well, I just want to be comfortable, or I just want to have the necessities in life. But that's aiming low. Why would you want that? I mean, you need to aim high, and you need to ask for what you really want. Don't be afraid to ask for a successful man who will take care of you. Don't be afraid that you're going to look like this or that. It doesn't matter what other people think. What's your life like? And a lot of men are going to be upset about this video. A lot of women are going to call me this or that. But I really don't care, because this is my story. This is how I get down. This is what I do. Okay? Now, I've had boyfriends before I got married who did not have to be rich. I had boyfriends who were broke, who I helped take care of, who I gave some of my money to this, and that, who I was down with, who I loved. There was no difference in how I loved for the lack of money that they had. I loved those boyfriends just the same. But those boyfriends could not secure my future. They couldn't. If I had married one of my broke boyfriends, where would I be today? How would I look? What would my kids be like? What neighborhood would I live in? What would my house look like? What kind of car would I drive? Would I even have a car? Would I be at the bus stop? So it's important to know what you want in life. It's important, because one decision makes for the rest of the choices and the path of your life. I knew what I wanted. I manifested it. And when the book The Secret came out, I was pregnant with my first child. And I read that book while I was pregnant. And you know what they say about pregnant women? They're like really sensitive, and they have extra intuition and all this stuff at the time, and their vibrations are higher. So I started manifesting stuff while I was pregnant, and I knew what it was now because I had the book The Secret. So I started saying all these things that I wanted, and they all happened. Like, they all came true. I got everything that I wanted. And after that book, The Secret, came out, my information and the feelings that I had were confirmed. Like, thinking positive, saying what you want, not being afraid to ask for it, visualizing. I used to do all that stuff already. Now it was like in written form for the world to know. And so I jumped on it and started doing it as much as I could and as often as I could to improve my life for the better. Like, I was not ashamed to ask what I wanted. I was not ashamed to have high standards and high hopes. I was not ashamed for anything. I mean, a lot of people who are religious say, oh, you're supposed to be humble and you're supposed to, no, you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to have what you want in life. You're supposed to understand your power. You're not supposed to live in poverty. You're not supposed to be broke. You're not supposed to struggle. That's a choice, And I know a lot of people are going to say, no, it's not. It's just invite. You can start manifesting what you want. You don't have to be with a loser. You don't have to be with a broke man. You can manifest a good job. You can try to manifest a good job for your man. You can always improve on what you have. Just because you got a broke man doesn't mean it's going to always be broke. Y'all can manifest together for him to have a better job. And for, whatever. I'm not saying everybody should be like me, because they can't. Certain situations won't allow, certain people to do certain things. But the moral of my story is, don't be afraid to know what you want and manifest it. Your goal could be to own your own empire, or your own business, or your own store. Your goal could be, to have your own label or whatever you do, to be famous, but don't be afraid to go for it and to manifest with it. Don't manifest things that you don't want that other people think you should be. That's what I'm saying. So I hope y'all like my story. It started off from the point where I knew manifestation worked. So I didn't want to start off from my childhood, because it really, I was kind of clueless up until, that age. So I just started off where I thought it was most appropriate. So, and I might make a video on how to attract certain type of men, because I used to get all types of guys coming to me, and the type of guy that would approach me depended on me totally. Like, how I would wear my hair, what colors I would be wearing, the type of dress that I would wear. The type of outfit that I would wear, the makeup that I would wear would attract certain different people. So maybe maybe I'll make a video on what type of looks attract what type of men, because I can tell you for sure that the man that I married was attracted to the look of sophistication, darling. Even though I wasn't very sophisticated, that was a uniform of a mortician, a suit. Okay, so thank y'all for watching my story. I know it ran a little bit long, but I just had to get it all in there. Okay, if y'all have any questions, if y'all have any video requests on whatever pertaining to this story, anything else you want to know about me, just let me know and I will tell you. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.